Good afternoon, B3L. It's RoatsDB doing a live Discord session. Pretty quiet one, but we're gonna go through and do our regular video, so it's all here for everyone to hit up. Again, if there is a better time that works, don't hesitate to kind of ping me, and we can try and find a better time. And if it works with my schedule, we'll definitely do that. But just wanted to get into a bit of a market overview on what's going on in NFTs. A lot happening. We'll go through ETH, but we're going to have to cover more than just ETH in this. But over the last couple weeks here, as it's been a bit of time since we covered this due to holidays, but ETH volume has been pretty consistent, pretty strong. A bit of an uptrend here over the last week, 2 weeks overall. So that's good to see. The latest news here, kind of coming and happening here today, is that Yuga and other related collections, which could include BC as well, that they will be blocked from Blur and OpenSea or non-royalty enforced marketplaces. And Magic Eden's going to probably be driving a lot of attention. Of course, they also have their diamond drops, etc. So a big shift happening here in the near future for marketplaces, and of course the trading activity that will happen on these marketplaces. So we'll be paying a lot of attention to that. Could be a new farming meta as well. Farming metas are interesting. Of course, that creates a little bit of market dynamics that is incentivized. However, if royalties are enforced, etc., at least that will curb some of that activity. So that part is really good. Buyer to seller ratio is a little bit down from where we were previously, but overall in a near healthy spot, about 90%. Okay, want to get that higher. It was performing better in September, October, and that's kind of where we got a bit of a run there. And then again in February, we're down here a bit, but trending back upwards. So not bad there. Daily buyer seller activity down over the last couple of weeks to where we were previously. And you can see that in terms of overall sales. A little bit of a higher ends on the sales. Floor prices overall have performed well. And you'll see that when you look at the indexes. Um, Daily trader activity is down a bit, as well as new buyers down a bit here as well over the last couple weeks. So a little bit of that excitement, additive, and all that kind of stuff is down a bit. Average sale is up, however, so that's an interesting note. But those are some of the markets we want to see, or markers that we want to see when we're defining whether or not we're in a really positive growth situation for the market. We don't see any of that activity right now. It's overall, it's all of those are down a bit, but attention is in other places beyond just ETH NFTs, and I think that's a bit to what's going on there. But when we look at the indexes are doing very good. So you can see flat in the terms of ETH terms, but up really strong in the terms of USD terms. Of course, ETH has performed so well over the last just about month here, and of course continuing to do so. And I mean, it's overbought, but it's not. When you scroll back and look at historicals, it's it's been in this place before, and so it does have some room to cook further. And so while watching that and how that impacts overall activity for the ETH valuations, and look at that and how that impacts NFTs. So if it's moving fast, then you'll see a slide in NFT floor price. If it's kind of moving slow or in the process of kind of basically consolidating, then we'll be good from there. So sorry, I just responding to FG. Welcome, FG. We're going here for a while and a bit. So thanks for the ping and the post out there. Like I said, this is recorded. We'll get the video up as well. So that is good. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them into the Discord club chat. We will be going into individual collections here in a bit as well. So creeps are the one that have been really leading the way in terms of blue chip. Creeps expected to get a very large portal airdrop and so that's what's driving their floor price move. There's been this kind of narrative shift with some NFTs where collections that are receiving airdrops are getting a lot of kind of pump and attention. Creeps kind of leading the way there. Kenpai Pandas as well, with the promise of 100 airdrops, which is who knows, kind of insane. But they're also in there with a big move in the mid cap range. But that's kind of the ones that lead the way on that. Captains, a bit of a move as well. They had a nice kind of co kind of event in NFT Paris with Pudgies. And then in that situation there, they had an announcement where NFT Stats is joining the team. One of the larger thought leaders in this space, and as such, when you see someone like that join the team, it's probably overall bullish for captains and meme land overall. So I think that's one to really pay attention price wise, and where they're at. I think is um, not bad overall to where they've been. So they're up 10% on the week. Apes rebounding from being really at I think an all time, not an all time low, but a recent low here at the 20 ETH range. So they rebounded. Moonbirds dropping some of the profits from the acquisition. Coda down. Looking at a lack of focus now on the other side, and more of a focus towards apes in general. So you're going to see some of the other side kind of related projects and assets maybe take a bit of a backseat, as it kind of appears that the other side is not necessarily taking a back seat, but trending a little bit behind. So watch for how that plays out. And then uh, can everyone hear me fine, or is it just FG that can't hear me? I suspect everyone can hear me, um, but King, can you still hear me? Or if you can put a note in chat. Okay, it's just FG that can't. So let me just reply there, because I mean Discord is putting a little green circle on me that I'm getting audio out there, etc. So everything should be good. Check your headphones there, FG. Take yourself, pump it up the volume there, maybe. I don't know. But actually, what I noticed on my last recording is that it wasn't picking up when others were speaking. So I'll have to double check that, because I know IO was chatting a fair bit and wasn't picking up the two-way voice. So I'll play with that. I didn't in between last session. So, but anyways, carrying on. On the mid cap, and again in USD volume, like 225% over the last 6 months. So like just like a really big surge due to ETH in general. But it's really good to see this flat overall. But that's kind of due to surges in some collections, and not all collections are going to be flat per se. But Sappy Seals leading the way. Sappy Seals, I believe it was a bit of an airdrop expectation for them as well. That kind of led to some of the pump. So WAP really connected as well, and promising some airdrops to come to Seals holders, but also the kind of the uh, almost cousin narrative to penguins, that they're related, also or not, like similar art style, etc. Kind of the cute narrative, etc. But then also some bit of acquisition rumors, all kinds of stuff around Sappy Seals led to them having a really large pump. They've since given some of that back. And then I think the community vibes, I think overall were pretty positive, in the sense that when they went through this pump, the community just kind of carried on as nothing happened. So really interesting to see there. Kenpai Pandas, as I mentioned, up on the news of airdrops. Chimpers had a bit of a run here, and then Parallel Avatars is only really one down over the week in any significant terms, but they are also up overall on the 30-day mark. So pretty good, strong overall. So that's the general side of ETH. But what I want to look at, and one site I like the best for this is Degens, and so on there you can look at um, all three major NFT chains, at least the big three. There's obviously more than, but it also compares the collections together and separately, which I think is really nice. And it prices it out in USD, so you can kind of see where Node Monks is in relationship to where they would be to something like Azuki, which is I think the where they're kind of priced in right now. They're a bit above Azuki, so they're at about what 7.5 ETH range at the moment. So performing pretty well. Puppets at about what 2.5 ETH range roughly. Let's see if I can find a related project here. Yeah, something like that. So they're they're performing well. I think they're getting to almost be on the high side. Puppets are a hard one to fade. They're the most vocal on the feed. Node monks are also pretty vocal on the feed, and they're driving attention. And I think there's just this kind of bit of FOMO going on with Bitcoin projects in general. But when you kind of compare these prices, like I said, to some of the ETH prices, they're still relatively low end in the terms of where they could get to. So going to be some drive there. Some of the challenges you see with Bitcoin is that new projects, etc., are going to be hard to happen. The halvening as well is going to produce a little bit more cost for Bitcoin projects as well. So time to be told in terms of whether or not Bitcoin can, you know, take a large share of the attention away from ETH NFTs. But and it's one of these things where because there's three major chains, it's like the attention kind of hovers on one chain. Previous to the last few days, it was all the attention was on ETH. Prior to that, it was on Bitcoin, and then prior to that, it was on Solana. And so there's this like cycle of attention across chains, and so it's important to kind of identify where that attention is, and then it's gonna probably move off of that. So right now we have Blast and the Blast kind of movement. As some of the Blast rewards come out and ETH unlocks, and the attention is probably going to shift back to ETH, and then move from there as well. So it's this kind of overall cycle that's kind of churning right now. That is super positive for the space. But like I said, there's not a lot of new entrants. But be active and beyond the conviction and go there. One thing I want to caution is not hopping between projects, chasing profits, because when you're doing that, chances are you're just gonna miss every time if you're not holding, and you hold a project thinking it's the next one to move, and then all of a sudden it's another project that's moving, and the one that you're in doesn't move, and then you're selling, and then by the time you sell and get into the next one, the one that you thought was going to move finally moves, right? So um, you know trade with a bit more of that midterm, move in there with a plan, plan your exit strategy as well, and that's kind of where you're going to see the most success, and then kind of go with it. So yeah, overall, the Bitcoin ecosystem's doing well. Limited projects there, node monks, puppets, cats, really seeing the most success. And then beyond that, I think there's just not enough noise in a lot of the other collections. There's some activity in the terms of art on Bitcoin that are of interest, but I would look at um, you know Node Monks is really, I think, the best play, followed by Puppets. But they've been on such a heater right now that it's hard to say that they push much higher. And then Solana's been kind of quiet. Solana volume has been driven by um, TensorSwap airdrop farming. No fee kind of activity, and that's where you see Tensorians and even for Grana, a lot of their volume is just trading back and forth without any royalties, farming airdrops. So that is kind of what's happening there. Mad Lads being the collection that is seeing the most success. Again, a bit of a airdrop narrative around them, and then just being the strongest collection over there on Solana. And then from there, what's really important is um, looking at. Sorry, get in here. Um, Blast. So Blast right now, they had their um, winners announced. I'm gonna spend a lot of time digging through on the Blast and the airdrop narrative around that. But what's important right now is there's two avenues. You know, there's staking ETH. Not a lot of time left on that, but also positive on the terms of the ability for the unlock. I think there's a small degree of risk there, just in the fact that there's so much staked in over there, and then of course the return isn't necessarily going to be as high. But where I think the value is getting in on Blast in the test net and playing around with some of the winners and identifying what winners are the kind of the ones that will take off, and most of those winners are going to take their blast and provide it as a airdrop to those that are using the that particular application. So getting in there and doing that and getting that degree of farming, I think, is going to be kind of interesting and of value. So going to dig in there and share my thoughts on that. There are some content coming out and some videos coming out, etc., on that that will be helpful. But paying attention to that. But that blast kind of bit of airdrop is going to provide some juice, I think, in the ETH market, which will be really good to see. So let's take a look at some of the collections that we've paid attention to in the last little bit. You can see here apes breaking this kind of really long-term support. Um, didn't move down quite as fast as I maybe expected, but then also dropped below the support of 21.8. Um, Rebounded on the Garga news, um, and then dropped back down, but kind of almost on this longer-term trend. Now, if you broke that, I can't undo that. Let's move this back. So if I can grab this, it's tricky sometimes to grab these. If you look at this here, I can't grab it, but it's almost this longer term. So now you're looking at a bit of a move to see if there's a bit of a breakout on apes at the current level above 22 ETH, 22 and a half ETH. Going to be important to see that happen for apes. But they're kind of one of the collections that I was looking at for the overall health of the NFT market. The other one I was looking at was Azuki. And this is on the east side of things. But if we look at Azuki, this is taking a bit to load up. Azuki has broken down from some critical support levels here. And at a lower level, let's just take a look. I don't think Azuki, is Azuki that low? Where's Azuki? Yeah, Suzuki down a pretty good amount here, breaking off of the kind of, this was a long term trend as well. Didn't really see much movement through the here, but breaking past some support and then just kind of a full on bit of a almost a capitulation kind of moment here. I think this is maybe what could be. You have to kind of almost scale back here now. There's a bit of a support here at five and a quarter. It's kind of a weird, almost no man's range here for Azuki. Um, but I suspect that there's uh, a bounce back up here, but not much of one. So Azuki here looking for announcements, etc. But this is a bit of a bearish move for them overall. Pudgy's done a lot of analysis on Pudgy's and where they were at. They've kind of been consolidating um, a bunch up in this range. You can see a bit of a breakdown here as well. Again, ETH moving hard. That's going to result in some floor price decline as people look to take profits. And I also think there's a bit of a, like I said, almost like a bit of a FOMO move into Bitcoin probably happening. So some ETH NFT sell off into rotating into Bitcoin. So a bit of a pullback here on Pudgy's as well. Moonbirds has given back profits to where they were at. I think that's really pretty fair to expect on such a large run here. Getting back to almost support levels at 1.25 for Moonbirds. We'll see how that plays out. I think there's going to be a bunch to it as well for how it all kind of lends out with everything that's going to go on this Magic Eden shift here. Also, keep in mind that if royalties become enforced on some of these collections as well, the profit narrative, etc., that whole equation is going to change. So now you're going to have to, you know, equate for an additional 5-7% in additional profits necessary for a break-even sale, and then that's also going to get priced into um, uh, where values are on NFTs. So going to be interesting to see how that flips the pricing narrative across collections. Kenpai Pandas, they were setting up pretty well with this kind of almost a bit of a cup and handle kind of channel here, and then a large breakout, which I think was it them. I think there was another one that you can see this large kind of move there, um, really strong, but it was and it hasn't happened yet um, for CyberKongs, but you can see it almost in there. It's kind of that's a small little handle on there, but a larger trend on CyberKongs. So could be a nice little breakout if it gets up above this 1.2 range for them, and that's one that I've been watching quite a bit. What else is interesting here? Persona was holding quite a bit there, but this is that kind of that mint hype cycle. This one's going to be really hard to analyze, at least on a daily. Um, when you get that, it's almost like it's a up post mint, down up, and then it's kind of like a lower highs, lower lows kind of move for up to a couple weeks, and then you have your reveal dump, and then from there you really determine about 3 weeks out whether or not that collection is really going to move, and that's 3 weeks post reveal often. So we got some time here yet on personas. I think the reveal is expected to be a few weeks out as it is. So, but just this kind of downward trend on it. So I moved pretty quick on this. I did manage to win, not the whitelist, but win the auction, and so I flipped out really quick on that, just taking profits. I did sell maybe a little too quick here in this first range, as it did kind of find some momentum and get up into that almost 2x range there before trending downward. But there was a lot of opportunity, I think, for some short-term flips, but a little harder to make those trades. But I did see a lot of sharp wallets moving on Ninja Alerts on this collection, just buying and selling out, which was fun to see. There's Creeps. Creeps has been on this just massive run, but they're supported by this expectation of the portal drop. Of course, it's going to come down to when that portal drop and portal snapshot happens. You suspect a creep sell off from there, but until then, there's just a lot of momentum behind them. Looking to have capped out at this 5 ETH range here. It's kind of momentum has stopped a bit on them, so we'll see if they push much beyond that. But any other collections, those that are listening in, want to look at, find interesting, etc.? I think Milady's were, let's see here, nothing there. Oh, I did change my time horizon. Sorry, was that? No, I haven't. I need to. Uh, it's on my list. I've like I said, I've kind of switched to looking at some of the airdrops, etc., and trying to focus on what's important there. But then also, yeah, you're right. So say art, etc. There's going to be there needs to be more attention, I think, to say before they really move and run. Um, but when that happens, being early over there, I think is going to be a really big benefit. But yeah, I do have to put some time and attention to at least get into a few items there over there. The other challenge I have is I don't have that ability to. Don't think Parsec does anything outside of uh, ETH NFTs, which is unfortunate because I'd love to be able to look at a few more chains on that. Let's take a look at Sappies where they now Sappies have pulled back from that move, um, but looking really positive here. They're holding above. There's a couple hours left on it, but hold above this previous high. I think it is a continuation on Sappy's, likely moving up here some more, but a nice little pullback and then move up. This candle here is maybe a little weaker, but looking strong on Sappy's. Captains with a move here post the really positive NFT Paris uh, event and announcement. Looking at some resistance at about 5 ETH for them. But a nice little move upward here for captains. Possibly looking at a nice little bounce off the next day on this. Again, some of these are going to be depending on how ETH sits. As if crypto continues to move, then there's going to be some down movement, I think, across collection, especially when it's really running strong. So that part's a little bit harder. So Doodles broke some kind of key support around the. Actually, that's a resistant point. Support level at about 2.6. Kind of bounced there and back up. But this 3 ETH resistance will be an interesting one, but in a downtrend. currently for them, but kind of a nice, I was gonna say a nice kind of long-term support, but there isn't really there. It's broke below that as well, I think. Oh no, actually, it's right on. So that 2.6 level is a really good hold. And so there, I did make a bit of a play on Doodles. Just everything that's going on, I think, is one of the collections I believe a lot in the terms of um, what their building is and the leadership and just being a winner in the next cycle here for ETH NFTs. So I do have a slight amount of bias to Doodles now, as I have recently bought. But as ETH NFTs move, it's taking uh, that Doodles bet with that. So Utes have seen some strength lately, really just due to the activity of Frank. And so a really strong bounce thereafter. I imagine Frank is going to continue to be pretty active on the timeline here, um, which is necessary for some of that strength for Utes. Also, a bit of an airdrop narrative for them as well with Wormhole. We'll see how that plays out. 2.75 is kind of their point of resistance here that would look at potentially not a not a lot of. I have to go back or go longer time horizon. I think I said 2.75, but 0.75. Sorry. So they're nearing that range right now. So I would expect a bit of a pullback back to say 0.68, and then if it can continue up from there, that would be a positive continuation on Utes. So Cool Cats has an interesting setup here. Um, it's a longer range one, moving back to say the last month. Um, but if they can kind of almost create a bit of a double bottom here and then build back up off of that, back to this 1.6 range, say mid March, um, that could be a really nice breakout point. In a longer term chart, there is some resistance at this, 1.2 ETH range, but it's possible here that I'm gonna want to wait for a couple days on this play out here. But I think Cool Cats is almost set up here for a nice entry, at least um, back to this 1 ETH range, but it could be additional from there. Another one of those OGs collections, IP's excellent, etc. A little quieter as a collection, but Cool Cats is an interesting one, at least the way it's setting up. Gonna pause. Feel free to put anything in chat or join on voice with any thoughts in the market, etc., or any questions from there. Silence is acceptance that everything I just said is is 100% excellent. um, that's fine. Again, feel free to put anything in chat if there's any collections you want me to look at, take an analysis on, etc. Happy to do that.
You talked about phase C. You kind of roll all of the sub collections there, the Mace C, the Deeds, and Doggos with the overall sentiment there with Yuga, or is there a further breakdown? Do you think that you might have a discussion worthwhile?
I really look at the main collections, right? So apes, mutants, probably roll in the 10K TF, PFP. That's going to be a major kind of milestone on the 10K TF side of things, and how that rolls out. It's an important one for Yuga as well, I think. So that's going to kind of play into the sentiment around apes in the ecosystem. So if that's positive and taken well, I think that's good overall. I think generally right now mutants are kind of pegged as the um, the play in terms of the Yuga side of things, especially when they're down in this 3.8 range. But a bit of a better bet. But it's the attention on apes in general are so important for Yuga, and I think how this transition happens over at Magic Eden as well is super important. So it's a very much hyper focus watch on the ecosystem in general. But then if if the narrative switches from this long trend of downward pressure, uh, really since like end of November, it's just been kind of this down cycle, and you can see it's been a bit of uh, a positive move outside of that. Although I could quite easily adjust uh, uh, my line there, and it still fits in for the most part. So want to break up and above this this downward trend. Uh, but once that happens, and once you see some movement on apes and mutants, then it's going to be this trickle down, kind of like what you see with pudgy penguins and the related collections. However, other side in general, I think is for me at least personally a full fade, and you're going to want to focus on the main elements of the Yuga ecosystem. Dogs likely to be a bit forgotten, so pay attention to those scenarios where they are a bit forgotten. Could be opportunity there if there is any kind of move on apes and penguins. But overall, pretty good. Did you get a car? Yeah, I got both. You got Sally? Wow. um, yeah, so that's kind of it. Turan, were on hot mic, but your mic was on, but nothing came through. No sound, so you're good there. I hope that answered there for you, improv.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have to tend to agree with you. I just wanted to see if there might be another thought process there.
Yeah, yeah. I think really you want to keep it a little bit more basic with the ecosystem, hoping that's what they are doing as well. When you look at that list by NFT stats that I reposted, it's quite the list of collections, and really want to have that focus on. And I am fully neglecting punks and me bits because they're really play. I mean, me bits are kind of almost in that Yuga ecosystem. The punks are their own kind of element, I think. So, wanting to see some ape success, and from there, I think watching the collections as they move out from there. But you see this long term, and I think this is the mutant chart. Just double check that that's the same on the ape chart here. But for that breakout for them, And once that happens, then it's kind of looking at the collections across from there. But and even I think even to a degree, moonbirds are going to be kind of separate, their own their own element, for the most part. Uh, and then if there's a lot of success in Yuga, then you probably see moonbirds rise with that. But they're likely to move independently from there. But you got some really good team members added to the ecosystem. You got the kind of slight restructuring there. So hopefully they can get it all together because they're so vital to the NFT marketplace and NFTs in general. Coping. It looked like you were typing. It looked like you had something to say. If you do, definitely drop it in there. Happy to look at any other collections or discuss anything else. I do have about 10-15 minutes before I have to cut it, as I have to watch my son as the daughter gets picked up from school. But
Hey, what's up, bro?
yo, io,
No, you know,
I'm
hey,
yeah. Um, it's there's it's a pretty fun time I think overall, uh, in NFTs, crypto, etc. What's really nice about everything that's going on is that as these airdrops start to play out here over the next couple few months, that's where you're going to see some of that liquidity push
yeah,
in.
that's spending
Yeah, and that spending money is going to trail into NFTs. So NFTs are, going to be behind, the DeFi and airdrop kind of side of things. And then from there, it's where you would look into NFTs and that hype. There was a bit of an interesting chart. And I'm trying to think what one I saw that on, but just looking at the search trends on crypto and Coinbase, etc. We're still pretty early in this cycle in terms of buzz out on mainstream, which is pretty wild considering the amount of rebound we've seen in crypto here lately. But I think it's going to start to gain that attention, and as crypto moves, then everything kind of cycles from there. So I think we're a bit early in the cycle. It's really positive to see everything that's going on right now, and bull versus bear, regardless, it's feeling much warmer around here, which is nice. I still haven't said bull NFT market. However, the NFT market is uh, positive, and maybe you're a good one to ask. Is it as simple as market go up is bull and market go down is bear, or how would you define bull versus bear market? Wow.
yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes down to the cost of borrowing.
Yeah.
The aggressiveness of the Fed here, at least in the U.S., definitely.
Hmm. On the macro side of things, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, yeah, looking at borrowing rate, lending rate, macro side, ultimately, credit. There was a
Yes.
question I was going to ask you if you had maybe on Paris that you could look at. I was curious if it could break the half a E floor price. I saw a bunch of kind of buy now a couple of days ago. I don't know what was leading that. The collection's called like Pink Pirate Nate.
Yep. You can see this
A lot of volume, but
ape trend is super long all the way back to looks like summer, spring of last year. That's just long term flag, which is crazy. So this breakout here, we can hit it. Could be could be a really nice push on the ape ecosystem there. So, Pirate Nation, you said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's see if we got a decent amount of volume here. So it does one thing with collections. If it doesn't have enough volume, then you're going to get some wild stuff here on Parsec. Um, but yeah, half ETH is the all-time high. A nice pullback move on this. This is actually kind of setting up pretty well, actually. This point 4 as a possible point of support. And then a move upward. If we look at a fib on this as well, I think is probably of value.
The largest amount of volume there is right above a point 0.3 is what I see looking there. But I mean, generally kind of point of control there.
Yeah, yeah, right in that point 0.3 range. And then so you're looking at it's touched off of this uh, point 0.5 on the retracement, 50% retracement. It's right in that range. So I think,
That 6.8 at 0.36 about
yeah, point 0.36. Yeah, yeah, but about 0.36 is resistance there as well. So it could break below this point 0.4 into this 0.36 range. So it's going to be a day or two to see how this one plays out, but it's at a really interesting a point here where I think it's if it plays out properly, it's going to continue this good positive move upward here. But like on this short term retracement, I kind of want to see it move off of this point 0.5 and back up, versus going back to 0.36 and spending more time going down. To be honest.
Yeah, kind of keep that momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a nice one. That's a nice looking uh chart overall.
Yeah, I got no deets on them. No,
I This is the first I've heard of them, but the chart looks great.
yeah, I know that Sparks, that big candle on the 22nd, they announced like a proof of play concept.
Okay.
I kind of jumped into their Discord, just happened to have been on space and they were on it. And I don't know if it's a play for me, but I definitely see the gamers jumping in there.
Yeah. Any is it a token kind of airdrop narrative, or is it just they have some gaming coming out and that's kind of part of it, or what did you gather from that?
Well, the proof of play was there's a whole thread that I wasn't going to get into, but essentially it's a multi-chain thing based on Arbitron.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, if I were to look at them beyond uh the chart, I don't vibe with the art per se, which I you know typically is the where I focus the most on NFT projects. Um, but you know everything going along with that, and then like token gaming, etc., are positive narratives overall for NFTs in this space. So, like I said, this point 0.5 sorry, point 0.4, 0.36 range could be a really interesting bounce and continuation upwards. So the overall very positive looking uh, chart. Awesome. So we're gonna wind this down for the most part here. Um, Thursday Spaces, I think we're back on with the Alfie and Poppy crew. Can't wait for that to come. Uh, I'm gonna go back and listen to the Poppy Space from earlier today. A lot of information there in terms of Magic Eden, etc. So going to listen to that space here this afternoon. Like I said, going to do some more research on Blast and Blast kind of token narrative that's going to really drive a lot of activity here in the near future, and I think is important to get involved in and play around in that space. Is that's going to be probably a big driver of airdrops and liquidity. And then yeah, so thanks everyone that is here. Post up the recording here in a bit as well. And yeah, if there's not any other last bit questions, we will catch you again next time.